God wants to hear you. Come, come.
The night feels heavier than it should, Lord, as if something unseen has settled quietly on the chest, not sharp enough to name, not loud enough to explain, yet present in every breath and every pause between thoughts. And I come to you, carrying this weight that has no clear story, this sadness that did not knock before entering, this ache that feels older than today and younger than memory, and I let it rest in your presence, because you are not startled by what I cannot describe. You are not confused by tears that arrive without a reason. You understand the language of sighs and the meaning of silence. You see the heart when even the mind is lost. And in this quiet moment I allow myself to be seen without answers, without strength, without the need to justify why I feel this way, trusting that you meet me here in the dim places of the soul. And if anyone listening carries a heaviness they cannot explain, let them lean into this prayer with me right now, knowing that you are close even when joy feels distant and clarity feels far away. You are here with me, God, in this slow unfolding of emotion where nothing dramatic happens on the outside, yet everything feels tender within, and I sense that you are not rushing to fix me, but choosing instead to sit beside me, to breathe at the same pace as my weary soul, to honor the weight I am carrying without calling it weakness, because you know there are sorrows that do not come from events but from endurance, from being strong too long, from holding everyone else together while something quietly loosens inside, and you do not shame me for that loosening. You call it human, you call it known, you call it worthy of care. And as I rest in this truth, I begin to feel that I am not failing. I am simply tired in a way only you can heal. And if someone listening feels this same unexplainable ache, let them place their hand over their heart for a moment and breathe with us, trusting that you are present in this shared stillness, gently reminding us that even unnamed sadness is never carried alone. Sometimes this sadness feels like fog, Lord, not dark enough to frighten others, not thick enough to stop life, yet dense enough to blur direction and mute color. And I walk through my days sensing that something is missing without knowing what it is, laughing when expected, answering when asked, functioning while my inner world feels slightly out of focus. And you see how exhausting it is to live like this, half present and half searching, longing for relief but unsure what relief even looks like. And you do not scold me for the confusion. You recognize it as the soul's way of asking for rest, for truth, for gentle restoration. And in your presence I no longer need to force clarity before comfort, because you offer comfort first, patiently allowing clarity to arrive in its own time. And if someone listening feels lost inside a sadness without edges, let them stay here a little longer with us, trusting that even fog thins when held by steady light. There are moments, Father, when this heaviness makes me question myself, when I wonder if something is wrong with my faith because I cannot shake this slow ache, and I replay prayers I have prayed before, searching for what I missed or what I did wrong. Yet you gently interrupt those thoughts with your quiet truth, reminding me that sorrow is not a sign of distance from you, but often a sign that the heart is alive, tender, and still hoping. And you assure me that faith is not proven by constant strength, but by returning to you even when I feel fragile and unsure. And I let that truth settle slowly, like warm light finding its way through closed curtains. And I feel less accused by my emotions and more understood by your grace. And if someone listening has been blaming themselves for feeling this way, let them release that burden to you now, allowing your compassion to speak louder than their inner criticism as they rest in your steady presence. This heaviness also carries a loneliness, Lord, not always because people are absent, but because the sadness feels invisible, difficult to explain without sounding dramatic or ungrateful. And so I keep it hidden, tucked behind polite words and practiced responses, while inside I wish someone could see past the surface and ask the right question. And you do see it, fully and without effort. You notice the way my energy fades faster, the way silence lingers longer, the way my heart withdraws even when surrounded. And you do not misunderstand that withdrawal as rejection, but as fatigue, as a quiet plea for safety. And in your presence, I do not have to translate my pain into sentences, because you already understand the language it speaks. And if someone listening feels alone in a crowded room, let them imagine placing that loneliness into your hands right now, trusting that you hold it with tenderness and return it softened by your nearness. At times, this sadness settles into the body itself, God, showing up as heaviness in the chest, tightness in the throat, weariness in the bones that sleep does not seem to touch. And I realize how much I have been carrying without noticing, how often I have pushed through signals meant to slow me down. And you are gentle as you draw my attention back to myself, not to accuse but to heal, reminding me that I am not just a mind or a task list, but a soul housed in fragile flesh, deserving of care and patience. And you invite me to stop fighting my own limits and to listen with kindness to what my body has been whispering all along. And as I soften my resistance, I sense your peace, moving not in a rush, but like a steady tide. And if someone listening feels this weight living in their body too, let them relax their shoulders and breathe deeply with us now, trusting that you are attentive to every unspoken signal and every silent ache. This unknown sadness also stirs memories, Lord, fragments of moments I thought I had already survived, echoes of losses that were never fully mourned, disappointments quietly filed away because life demanded strength instead of tears, and now they rise gently, not to harm me, but to be acknowledged. And you assure me that remembering does not mean going backward. It means allowing what was frozen to thaw in a safe place. And you stay with me as these feelings surface, steady and unafraid, reminding me that I am not reliving pain alone, but revisiting it with you beside me, transforming what once wounded into something that can finally breathe. And I no longer need to rush this process or judge its pace, because healing unfolds according to love, not pressure. And if someone listening feels old emotions stirring unexpectedly, let them stay present here, trusting that you are guiding them through memory with compassion and care. There is also a quiet grief for things that never happened, Lord, dreams that slowly faded without a clear ending, versions of life I once imagined that gently slipped away while I was busy surviving. And this kind of loss feels strange because there is no funeral for it, no words of closure, only a soft ache that lingers in the background of everyday moments. And you acknowledge this grief without minimizing it, reminding me that what could have been still mattered to my heart, and that releasing it does not mean I failed. It means I lived honestly, and you invite me to lay these unseen losses before you without shame, trusting that you can hold both what was and what never came to be. And as I do, I sense that you are not erasing my past hopes, but reshaping them with wisdom and mercy. And if someone listening carries grief for dreams they never speak about, let them gently offer those dreams to you now, believing that nothing entrusted to you is ever dismissed or wasted. As this prayer continues, Lord, I notice how easily I try to rush myself toward feeling better, as if sadness were a mistake that needs correcting instead of a season that needs companionship. And you slow me down with your patience, teaching me that healing is not a command, but a relationship. Not an instant change, but a gentle unfolding that honors where I truly am. And you remind me that even Jesus paused to weep. Even he allowed sorrow to have a voice. And so I release the pressure to be okay before I am ready, allowing your presence to be enough for this moment, enough for this breath, enough for this quiet ache that still lingers. And in this permission, I feel something loosen slightly, not because the sadness is gone, but because I am no longer fighting it alone. And if someone listening feels exhausted from trying to heal too quickly, let them give themselves permission to rest here with us now, trusting that you work deeply even when progress feels slow and invisible. In this slower space, Lord, I begin to sense that this heaviness has been asking for honesty more than answers, for permission to exist without being judged or fixed. And I realize how often I silence my own heart by telling it to be grateful, to be strong, to move on, when what it truly needs is to be heard, and you listen without interrupting, without correcting the tone of my emotions, without rushing me toward resolution. And your listening itself feels like healing, like water finding dry ground, because being fully seen loosens knots I did not know how to untie. And I feel safer telling you the truth about how tired I am, how unclear the future feels, how fragile my hope seems some days. And you remain steady, reminding me through your nearness that honesty is never a threat to faith. It is an expression of it. And if someone listening has been afraid to be fully honest with you, let them quietly allow their true feelings to surface now, trusting that your love is wide enough to hold every unfiltered emotion without retreating. As I stay here with you, God, I begin to notice small stirrings beneath the heaviness, not joy yet, not relief, but a gentle awareness that I am still breathing, still present, still capable of receiving light even through cracks I did not choose. And you remind me that healing often begins as awareness, as the quiet realization that numbness is thawing, and feeling is returning in cautious steps. And though that return feels vulnerable, it is also alive, and you protect this tenderness with your care, teaching me that strength is not the absence of sadness, but the courage to remain open while carrying it. And I allow myself to stop numbing, stop hardening, stop pretending I am unaffected by the weight I carry, trusting that you are guarding my heart as it softens again. And if someone listening feels afraid of feeling too much, let them gently stay present with this moment, believing that you will not let their emotions overwhelm them, but will meet them with steady peace and patient love. There is a tenderness in this moment, Lord, where the sadness no longer feels like an enemy, but like a messenger that arrived without words. And I begin to understand that it has been pointing me back to you all along, inviting me to slow my pace, to listen inwardly, to notice what has been neglected in the quiet corners of my soul. And you welcome this realization without triumph or judgment, simply glad that I am here, present and honest, allowing you to meet me where I truly am, not where I think I should be. And I feel your nearness like a steady warmth that does not burn away the ache but surrounds it, making it bearable, making it safe to hold. And I rest in the truth that you are not asking me to hurry through this season, only to walk through it with you, step by gentle step. And if someone listening senses this same shift from resistance to understanding, let them pause with us right now, trusting that your companionship is already doing quiet work within them, even before words or emotions fully catch up. As this awareness deepens, Lord, I notice how easily I have measured my days by productivity instead of presence, mistaking movement for meaning and busyness for peace. And this unknown sadness has been quietly asking me to return to myself, to remember that my worth is not earned by how much I carry or how well I perform, but by the simple truth that I am yours. And you speak that truth softly until it begins to settle beneath the noise of expectation and self-demand. And I feel the weight of comparison loosening, the pressure to be constantly okay easing its grip, replaced by a gentler rhythm that feels more like breathing than striving. And you remind me that rest is not retreat but alignment, a sacred pause where the soul can recalibrate to love. And I allow myself to linger here without guilt, trusting that nothing essential is being lost in this stillness. And if someone listening feels worn down by constant striving, let them release the need to prove anything right now and simply remain here, believing that your love meets them fully, even when they are still. In this gentle slowing, God, I begin to sense how deeply I have longed to be held without explanation, to be comforted without needing to justify my feelings. And you meet that longing with a presence that feels ancient and personal at the same time, steady as the earth and close as breath. And you remind me that I do not need to understand this sadness in order to be loved through it. because your care does not wait for clarity. It arrives in confusion just as faithfully, and I let myself rest in that truth, allowing it to sink beneath the surface where fear usually lives. And I notice how my heart responds, not with sudden happiness, but with the quieter kind of safety, the kind that allows tears to come and go without panic. And I realize that safety itself is a gift I have been missing. And if someone listening has been craving this kind of gentle shelter, let them imagine leaning their weight into you right now, trusting that you are strong enough to hold them exactly as they are, without requiring anything in return. As this sense of safety grows, Lord, I begin to notice how hope returns quietly, not as a declaration, but as a subtle shift in the way the air feels around my thoughts. And I realize that hope does not always arrive as excitement, but often as endurance, as the willingness to stay present even when answers are still far away. And you nurture this fragile hope with patience, never demanding that it be strong or confident, only real. And I feel you teaching me that it is enough to hope softly, to believe gently, to trust you one step at a time without needing to see the whole path ahead. And I allow myself to hold tomorrow loosely instead of gripping it with fear, knowing that you are already there, steady and attentive, waiting with care. And if someone listening feels unsure about the future yet senses a small desire to keep going, let them place that desire into your hands now, trusting that even the smallest hope is enough for you to work with and enough to carry them forward into light they cannot yet see. In this quiet unfolding, God, I become aware that this sadness has softened my compassion, making me more gentle with others and finally with myself. And I see how pain has carved space in my heart where empathy can live, where patience can grow, where judgment loses its sharpness. And you show me that nothing carried with you is ever wasted, not even sorrow without a name, because it deepens my ability to love without conditions and to listen without needing to fix. And I thank you for staying close through this slow transformation, for teaching me that becoming whole is not about returning to who I was before the heaviness, but about emerging as someone more honest, more tender, more aware of grace. And I allow this understanding to settle without rushing it into meaning or purpose, trusting that you reveal those things gently over time. And if someone listening feels changed by their sadness in ways they do not yet understand, let them remain open with us now, believing that you are shaping something quietly beautiful within them, even here, even now. As this prayer draws nearer to its final moments, Lord, I feel the heaviness still present, yet no longer threatening, no longer lonely, because it has been held, spoken, breathed through in your presence. And I realize that I do not need it to disappear in order to move forward. I only need to know that you walk with me through it, and you reassure me that days will come when this sadness lifts without announcement, just as it arrived. And until then, your faithfulness remains constant, steady as a horizon that never vanishes even when clouds gather. And I rest in the quiet promise that my story is still unfolding with care, not stalled, not forgotten, not broken by this season. And I allow gratitude to rise gently, not forced, simply present. And if someone listening feels ready to trust you a little more after this journey, let them quietly open their heart to that trust now, believing that you will continue what you have begun with patience and unfailing love. Here at the end of this gentle passage, Lord, I place what remains of this heaviness into your care, not as something defeated but as something entrusted, knowing that you are faithful to guard what I cannot fully carry, and I feel a quiet readiness to continue living, not perfectly healed, not fully light, but accompanied, steadied by the knowledge that your presence does not leave when prayers grow silent. And I allow this moment to mark not an ending, but a soft continuation, where my heart can keep unfolding in your time, under your watchful love. And I choose to rise from this prayer without haste, carrying peace instead of pressure. And if someone listening feels ready to receive what comes next with courage and gentleness, Let them receive it now with open hands, and may the Lord bless you and keep you. May His peace rest gently upon your heart. May His light find you even in quiet moments, and may you walk forward knowing you are held, seen, and never alone.
Breathe for a moment. God is here. He wants to hear you. If this touched your heart, subscribe for more.